Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back for another quick video here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. My name's Kyle. It's Friday, October 27th, about 5 o'clock p.m. We're going to go over all of the final practice reports that have. We're going to go in the screen share here. I'm going to pull up the fantasyfellowship.com, and then I do have some start sit charts here, but we're going to click on the link to the practice report. What I'm going to do in this video is we're just going to go over each team's practice report. It's week 8, and we have all teams playing this weekend, so no buys. It's kind of nice. Let's hop right into it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Can I do that? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll start with Arizona. Let's go alphabetical here. We got 32 teams to get to. Let's go through real quick here. They've ruled out a couple defensive players here, one offensive lineman. Otherwise, really no fantasy names that we need to know about here. Kyler Murray, probably not going to play. They haven't really said he's going to play or not going to play. So they're leaving him, I guess, as a game time decision. But let's assume he's not going to play. Otherwise, the Cardinals look like to be in pretty good health here. Moving on to Atlanta, and I know Atlanta's been one of the healthier teams all season long. They've only ruled out one linebacker here. They have Bud Dupree questionable, but CPAT, Calais Campbell, they're fine, good to go. The thing we're going to be interested in is Bijan Robinson. He's not on the injury report with any headaches or anything, so I think Atlanta's good to go. London, Bijan, Pitts, maybe Desmond Ridder in Superflex leagues. Moving on to Baltimore here. Baltimore did rule out Marcus Williams, the safety. We have the backup running back Keaton Mitchell questionable, and Odafe Oweh here questionable from the linebacker. Otherwise, Odell Beckham's good to go. This looks pretty good for fantasy offense in Baltimore. You're starting Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and Zay Flowers. After that, we have a bunch of flex type players here. I think you're starting Gus Edwards in this one too. Gus Edwards should be a nice play against the Cardinals. Buffalo already played. Let's move over to Carolina. And they've ruled out Von Bell and Laviska Shenault. We have a couple guys not practicing today, Brian Burns, and then a linebacker here. So we're going to watch the health of Brian Burns. That actually could be a big loss if he's unable to go. A couple other linebackers here, questionable. Offensive tackle Taylor Moton, questionable, and Xavier Woods here, the safety, is questionable. But he did practice in full today, so that looks good. Adam Thielen, good to go. These offensive linemen look good to go. And Miles Sanders practiced in full all weekend here, so good news for Sanders. He'll be in some kind of split there with Chuba Hubbard. But overall, Panthers offense looks healthy. No Laviska Shenault, but that's not really something we need to know about for fantasy. So we'll see if the Panthers can, have a good game against fellow rookie quarterback CJ Stroud. The Chicago Bears playing on Sunday Night Football. They already ruled out Justin Fields. And a couple defensive guys ruled out here. They did rule out Braxton Jones, the offensive tackle. They've also ruled out Nate Davis, the offensive guard. So the offensive line still not at 100% here. A handful of guys questionable in this one. You have two safeties, Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson. Jackson did practice in full, and then Brisker here questionable with an illness. Didn't practice all week, so keep an eye on that one. Otherwise, Roschon Johnson is the main piece of news here. He practiced in full all week. We're expecting to see him back, and who knows, maybe he can overtake Deonta Foreman as the lead back in this offense. I think Foreman and Roschon are both, low-end RB2 flex plays, depending on your RB depth there. But yeah, DJ Moore is healthy. You're playing him, I think, and that's kind of it. DJ Moore and the running backs. Let's look at Cincinnati, who's coming off a bye week. They did rule out Chase Brown, the rookie running back here, and Akeem Davis-Gaither is out. Otherwise, the offense looks good to go. Coming off a bye, this is what you want to see. Obviously, it'd be nice to get the rookie out there, but otherwise, Cincinnati, you're firing up your guys there. Let's see. Cleveland, they did rule out Deshaun Watson, but we knew that was coming. Otherwise, everybody else here, you have Jerome Ford listed as questionable. He got a limited practice in today, and he was, wearing that walking boot earlier in the week here. So I don't think he's going to play, but this puts him on the track to play next weekend in week 9. So keep your eye on Jerome Ford. I think you're starting Kareem Hunt, and you're probably starting, maybe in a deep league, you're picking up Pierre Strong just in case for insurance. But otherwise here, nothing really else to monitor. Like, you're playing Amari Cooper, maybe. That might be it from the Browns. And I think Kareem Hunt, got limited days in Thursday and Friday. I think he's good to go. David Njoku looks fine. You could start him as a tight end. But yeah, it's Hunt, it's Cooper, Njoku. Maybe you can play PJ Walker in Superflex. That's kind of about it. And then, yeah, I do like Pierre Strong as a stash play for the weekend. Dallas Cowboys looking pretty healthy off their bye. Tyron Smith is questionable with the neck injury. It looks like he's going to have a chance to play. So Dallas coming in good. You're playing all your Cowboys that you guys trust. The Denver Broncos, they did not rule anybody out. They have a questionable player here with a hamstring. Brandon Johnson did not practice. This is interesting. You might see more Marvin Mims in this one. I do think that the potential for Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, one of those guys could get traded, which could open up even more opportunities for Marvin Mims. So I think Marvin Mims is worth babysitting on your bench over the weekend. Otherwise, here, nobody else that I really need to know for fantasy. So the Broncos are healthy. The Lions, they play Monday night, so they have one more day of practice reports coming tomorrow. We're expecting David Montgomery not to play back-to-back days of DNP. They are on bye next weekend, so probably not going to see Monty until week 10. Otherwise, everything else looks good here. We have a couple guys questionable here. Jonah Jackson, the offensive guard, would hurt. Frank Ragnow, the center, did not practice today or yesterday either. So we'll watch for the offensive line here. But otherwise, yeah, you're playing Goff, you're playing Amon-Ra, you're playing Gibbs, and you're playing Laporta. The Packers are really banged up right now. We have a handful of guys questionable here. Luckily, nobody's been ruled out, so that's good to see. We'll see about Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell, and then Luke Musgrave got his first limited practice in today of the week, so he's going to be a game-time decision. Don't know if we need to play him in fantasy football right now, but he's worth holding on to, that's for sure. And then the center here, Josh Myers, practice in full today. Otherwise, Christian Watson, full practice all week. You have Aaron Jones, limited the last 2 days, after a DNP on Wednesday. So I think Aaron Jones is going to be good to go. He's a low-end RB. He's an RB2 this weekend. I know he didn't play a lot last weekend, but he still had 5 targets and I think like 8 carries or something like that. So play Aaron Jones if you have to, unless you have dynamite other options behind him. And Elgton Jenkins here, the other offensive lineman, looks like he's on track to play. The Houston Texans coming off of their bye, they have ruled out a handful of guys here. Just nobody really of note besides Robert Woods, who's their 3rd or 4th receiver on the team. Titus Howard maybe coming back this weekend, full practice, limited and full practice. So I expect the offensive guard to be out there. He might even be playing tackle for them. Laramie Tunsil, full practice today. So good news for the Texans coming off their bye week. They're getting healthier at the offensive line. And yeah, this should be a healthy team and a fun, exciting offense for fantasy football going forward. You're starting maybe CJ Stroud in a QB1 league. You're starting Nico Collins. I think Tank Dell is more of a flex wide receiver 3. And then I am starting Dameon Pierce this weekend. I think you do want to stash Devin Singletary, though. We'll see how that split looks this weekend. The Indianapolis Colts, they've ruled out a cornerback here, Kylan Granson, and an offensive tackle. Otherwise, Zach Moss is the big name to watch. DNP on Wednesday, limited Thursday, DNP Friday. So he is trending towards not playing. I did see some projections flip. I saw JT's go up, and I saw the backup Zach Moss's go up, or not Zach Moss, but Trey Sermon's, his numbers went up a little bit ago. So expecting no Zach Moss, play Jonathan Taylor, even though it's a tough matchup on paper against the Saints. Otherwise, yeah, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Jonathan Taylor, maybe Gardner Minshew in Superflex leagues. That could be of use for you. The Jacksonville Jaguars have ruled out Zay Jones. Otherwise, the one to keep an eye on is Trevor Lawrence. He was limited all week, questionable. He has, got a couple extra days since their last Thursday night game. So Lawrence should play, but they do have him listed here as questionable. Otherwise, with no Zay Jones, you're playing Christian Kirk. I know Calvin Ridley's been pretty frustrating, but maybe he pops off against a weak secondary in Pittsburgh. And then, yeah, ETN and Ingram you're playing for sure as well. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs, they ruled out Nick Bolton. Otherwise, everything else looks good here. They did let go John Ross. They put him on some list today. So you're starting Rashee Rice. I think if you have Rashee Rice, you got to try and find a way to get him in your lineups. Otherwise, yeah, Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, and then Rashee Rice is the next man up. Let's see here. The Chargers play Sunday Night Football. They haven't ruled anybody out that I see. We're watching the health of Gerald Everett, but he's on track to play DNP Wednesday, limited, and then full today. So if you need a tight end, he can be an emergency tight end 1 streamer for you. And then the big one today was Josh Palmer. He didn't practice the last 2 days, but he gets a limited in today, which leaves the light on for him to practice. I would assume tomorrow we'll get some indication on whether he's going to play or if it's a game time decision kind of thing. So I will say, if you're holding out for Josh Palmer on Sunday Night Football, I think he's going to play. Wouldn't be a bad idea to stash, a guy like Josh Reynolds just in case for Monday Night Football. But otherwise, yeah, Eckler and Keenan Allen, full practice is limited to go. Actually, Keenan was limited on Friday. Not sure what's up with that, but you're playing Keenan, you're playing Eckler, you're playing Herbert, and then maybe Josh Palmer here in this one. The LA Rams, looking pretty good health here. They didn't rule anybody out. They got a couple backups here that are questionable right now. An offensive tackle not practicing. Rams are in good shape though. You're playing Puka, you're playing Kupp, you're playing Stafford in a super flex league, I'm pretty sure. And then the questions are going to come from Henderson, Royce Freeman, and probably Tyler Higbee. But Rams look pretty good offensively here. The Raiders, they're playing on Monday Night Football against the Lions, have not ruled anybody out, but they have a list of guys questionable here. The only guys not practicing, Daniel Carlson with a groin injury. That's not good. Well, if you have him as your kicker, you're going to have to monitor this tomorrow. They'll upload some more Saturday reports here. Divine Diablo, the linebacker, questionable here. Otherwise, the Raiders are in good health. It looks like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play. Limited yesterday, full practice today. I'd say he's going to play. So he's a super flex option. Go ahead and start Devontae, Jacoby Myers, and Josh Jacobs. And then maybe Michael Mayer if you need a tight end. The Dolphins, we were kind of nervous about their reports earlier in the week. They have not ruled anybody out. They had everybody practice today, which was good. And then, the guys that we're watching are Raheem Mostert, limited the last 2 days. I think he's on track to play, though. He should be playing, and he should be in your fantasy lineups. And then Jalen Waddle, he had that back injury in the other game the other day, and he's limited all week. On track to play, though. No injury designation for him. And then the guy that we were really watching was Tyreek Hill. He was DNP on Wednesday, but limited. He's come out and the reports have been positive. He's going to play for us against the Patriots on Sunday. So, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Mostert, and Tua. These guys are in your fantasy lineups. I'm not starting Jeff Wilson or any of the other running backs there. But a lot of guys questionable here on defense. We're talking Javon Holland, Xavier Howard, two cornerbacks here. Might be a squeaky spot here for Mac Jones in the passing offense and Kendrick Bourne. The Vikings coming into this one, I did see, TJ Hawkinson popped up at the DNP on Wednesday, but limited and then full. He's good to go. Backup running back here, whatever. Ezra Cleveland, interesting, limited practice all week with a foot injury. And then we got a linebacker here, Asamoah out. Only guy ruled out for the Vikings. So fantasy offense is in good health. You're starting Kirk, Addison, Hawkinson, and probably Madison. The New England Patriots, we got a lengthy list here. They did rule out an offensive tackle here. A handful of guys questionable, and mostly on the defensive side of the ball. We do have two offensive tackles here, Trent Brown and Vidarian Lowe. But otherwise, this defense could be pretty banged up. Everyone's practicing, though, so maybe not. But otherwise, for fantasy football, we know what we're expecting here. You're going to play Ramondre, and that might be it. Like maybe Kendrick Bourne. This Dolphins defense is banged up right now and they're not playing the greatest. So maybe Kendrick Bourne's in play. Pick up Demario Douglas too. If you guys are in dynasty leagues or deeper leagues, Demario Douglas is a guy worth stashing here. This could be a nice spot for him. He did kind of take over the number 2 receiver jobs last weekend. So keep an eye on the rookie. I'm not starting a tight end for the Patriots either. The Saints are kind of dinged up here. They did rule out an offensive tackle. The only guy not practicing today was safety Marcus May. We'll watch him with a hamstring here. Otherwise, everybody was limited or full today for fantasy football. Kamara got the day off, it looks like. Juwan Johnson is coming back. He got a full day of practice in today. He's going to probably take a little bit of the ceiling off of Taysom Hill. I think if you really needed a tight end one and you want to play Taysom Hill, I'm okay with it. But just know that with Juwan Johnson back, he's probably going to lose some of those routes and targets that he's been getting the last handful of games. Otherwise, you're starting Kamara, Olave, maybe Michael Thomas, maybe Derek Carr in deeper formats. And that's about it. Defense is banged up, though. Got a lot of safeties questionable, but we'll see on Sunday here. The New York Giants offensive line continues to be banged up here. They're listing Andrew Thomas as doubtful. They're listing Daniel Jones is out, so Tyrod Taylor gets the start. Adoree Jackson questionable, Evan Neal questionable, John Michael Schmitz questionable, Kayvon Thibodeau questionable, and Darren Waller questionable. So we got a lot of questions on this side of the ball here. Now you're playing Saquon Barkley. Even though it's a tough matchup on paper against the Jets. Assuming Darren Waller plays, you're going to want to get him in your lineup, and I do think Tyrod could be a super flex QB2 if you needed somebody. I'm not playing a wide receiver. We do like the targets that Wan'Dale's been seeing, but last week he only had 2, so that kind of went down. It's Saquon, it's Waller, maybe Tyrod in a super flex league. But this offensive line just needs to get healthy. They've been struggling to keep their quarterbacks upright. The Jets coming off a bye, looking pretty good here. They did rule out offensive guard Joe Tippmann. Randall Cobb questionable. Not sure what's up with that. Otherwise, for fantasy football, everything's good to go here on the defensive side, by the way. They're getting all their guys back. But you're starting Breece Hall. You're starting Garrett Wilson. That's kind of the end of the list. Maybe Zach Wilson in a super flex league, that's probably where I'll draw the line. If you need a tight end, maybe Conklin. On the Philadelphia Eagles side, they've already ruled out Bradley Roby, so the secondary that hasn't been playing well continues to be without Roby. And then, yeah, for fantasy football, you guys know who you're playing from this list. We'll see about Jordan Davis here. So maybe a slight ding on the defensive side of the ball here for the Eagles. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers have Cameron Hayward, who might come back off IR, Anthony McFarland, who might come back off IR. We have a couple corners questionable, so keep an eye on the secondary. This is a banged up secondary, and we're kind of liking guys like Christian Kirk and maybe Calvin Ridley in this one. Otherwise, for fantasy football, Deontay Johnson was the big name that popped up as a DNP on Thursday, and that kind of sent everybody in like a shock, but he's full practice today, so it looked like just a maintenance day off. On Thursday. So Deontay good to go. You're starting Deontay Pickens, maybe Najee Harris. That's probably about it. I do see a question in the chat room. So before I get to Seattle, I'm going to answer Josh's question here. Good evening to Josh. Hope you're doing well, man. Would you trade Stroud, Metcalf, and Dell for Brees and Amon-Ra? 16-man redraft PPR. My roster is Stroud or Burrow, CMC, Kamara, DK, Thielen, Logan Thomas, and Dell. Okay. So Stroud is totally expendable for you. So I'm fine with sticking with Joe Burrow here, Josh. Basically, you're upgrading. I view it as an upgrade. You're viewing Metcalf to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that's an upgrade there. And then you're going from Brees Hall or from Tank Dell to Brees Hall, which I think is both an upgrade. So, and you're also getting just a third running back as insurance, whenever CMC or Kamara have their buys coming up. So I think this is a really good trade for you, man. CJ Stroud, he's not needed on your team. If Joe Burrow is going to come back healthy and he looks like, the Joe Burrow we expected at the beginning of the year, I think you got to make this deal. It makes your team pretty stronger. You're upgrading to a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in PPR, maybe a top 5 receiver in PPR, honestly, and then you're upgrading from Dell to Brees Hall, which I think, to me, Josh, this is a nice trade for you, and you're making your starting lineup better. So I like the trade, man. Let's go over the Seattle Seahawks report. It's a lengthy one. This is probably the longest lengthy list for practice reports that I've seen this year. They're listing Phil Haynes, the guard, doubtful. We got a couple guys out here on IR that might come back. Jamal Adams, questionable, but he did get a full practice in today, so I'm assuming he's fine. And then the big one was Tyler Lockett. He got a full practice in today, which is what you want to see. I believe they said he's expected to play. So he kind of scared us DNP and DNP on Wednesday, Thursday, but he's going to be out there. And same with Kenneth Walker. He was DNP on Wednesday, Thursday, full practice Friday, and they removed, you see how there's no injury designation here. He had a calf listed the last 2 days. Now it's removed, so I think he's good to go. But maybe Tyler Lockett's a question mark now. It's a really good defense they're playing. If he's got a bum hamstring, I just don't know if I want to take any risks. So I'm starting Kenneth Walker. I'm starting DK Metcalf, who's not even on the list. I think it was a smart decision to let him rest last weekend and let him get right. So you're starting DK and Kenneth Walker, maybe Lockett, but that's probably about it. Maybe Geno Smith in deeper leagues. But otherwise, a lot of guys listed here. And the Seahawks medical staff is very conservative. We're going to see this a lot where they're not going to look at all the guys that were DNP on Wednesday. And they've already had their bye week, so they're going to be extra cautious, I think, on Wednesdays and Thursdays going forward. So whenever you see Seattle guys DNP on Wednesday, don't get alarmed. Let's wait for Friday. That's usually the full, look at all the full practices here. It's a Friday thing with Seattle's guys. And hey, Josh, no problem, man. Thanks for hanging out. And thanks for the question. Looking at the 49ers here, they did rule out Deebo Samuel already, and it looks like Trent Williams is not going to play, which kind of makes sense to me. They have their bye week next week. Let him get healthy. He's a big piece of their offense for them as well as Deebo. So letting both guys heal up makes a ton of sense. Now, Brock Purdy, DNP Wednesday with a concussion, limited Thursday, full practice today. Don't know what's going on. He might be a game time decision. So maybe tomorrow on Saturday, you know how we get that late night flurry of he will play, is expected to play, won't play from Schefter. We'll see about that. But Purdy, interesting. I believe they gave Darnold a lot of first team reps this weekend. So we'll monitor Purdy. Otherwise, CMC's in. He's in full practicing. You're starting CMC, Ayuk, Kittle, and then, nobody else really after that. Maybe Jawan Jennings, but it's not the best weekend for Jauan Jennings, in my opinion. Tampa Bay, we'll move on to them. They already played. Tennessee. Tennessee's pretty banged up right now, too. They ruled out cornerback Roger McCreary, ruled out quarterback Ryan Tannehill, backup tight end Josh Wiley out, and then Naquan Jones questionable with an illness. Otherwise, everybody's in full. The rest of the team's in full. Like you're starting Henry and DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe that's it. Like I don't really trust the quarterbacks here. It sounds like they're going to do a tandem of Will Levis and Malik Willis. So maybe you don't even play DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe it's only Derrick Henry for the Titans here. I'm concerned, to say the least. And then the Washington Commanders, they did rule out linebacker here and an offensive guard. Curtis Samuel listed as questionable with a foot injury. DNP Wednesday, but limited. I'd say he's on track to play. But hey, these Commanders really played Philadelphia well a couple weeks ago. That game went to overtime, if you remember, in Philadelphia. So I'm expecting Sam Howell and the passing offense to be usable this weekend. Otherwise, the Commanders look to be in okay health. But that's it. That's all 32 teams here. I'm going to answer this question, and then we'll let you guys get out of here for the weekend. Andrew, good evening, my man. What is up? We should start. Who should I start? D'Onta Foreman or Michael Mayer? Full PPR, TE Premium, 2x PPR. Ooh, 2x. Usually I'm used to 1.5x. All right, let's look it up. I do want to say I've been working on some cool stuff today. I got my fantasy points allowed chart, Andrew, which if you're new to the fellowship, I have all this available on the fantasyfellowship.com. It's just the fantasy points allowed tab. But I'm going to show you what we're looking at here. So these are the fantasy points allowed to tight end. And right now you have Michael Mayer going up against the Lions. The Lions allow, they rank 30th here against the tight end. So 15.84 points per game, and that's just in single PPR. So this might even be upwards of 20 points. They've allowed 43 catches, 439 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So it's a really good spot to play Michael Mayer. I know he didn't play well last weekend, but honestly, none of the Raiders did. We're expecting Jimmy Garoppolo to be back. And my issue with D'Onta Foreman is we don't really know what Roschon's going to do. I'm curious because Roschon is a good runner, but he's a really good receiving back as well. So I know he's going to be on the field in third down and passing down situations. But otherwise, does Foreman continue to be the lead back? Does he get the goal line carries? Probably, but it's a bit of a gamble. Both guys are a bit of a gamble, honestly. But I think with the 2x PPR for tight ends and a good matchup for Michael Mayer, I think I'm going with Michael Mayer here. I mean, if he catches, 3-4 passes in this one, you should be in for a good day. So I'm going to say Michael Mayer. It's a good matchup. Monday Night Football. It could be fun for the rookie tight end. But hey, guys, that's it for me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will be doing some stuff. I think I might be doing a player prop show tomorrow, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But otherwise, Sunday morning, I will be live 10:30 a.m. Central Time if you guys want to hang out and get any start-sit questions ready to roll before the game start. But hey, no problem, Andrew. Thanks for hanging out, guys. And yeah, everybody, have a good weekend. We'll see you guys later. Peace.